Hi everyone, I'm Diane Mantica and I'm a cooking instructor and a personal chef. My grandmother Francesca came over from Italy and brought all of her family recipes. As a child, I cooked by her side and learned her techniques. I'm so happy to be able to share all of these secrets and tips with you. Welcome to my Italian kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make fettuccine with peas, sauteed peppers, and artichoke hearts. It's a delicious dish that I make for my clients and for myself all the time. So I'm going to take a pepper, use some colorful peppers. I have yellow, orange, and red, and that makes your dish look way better. So I would stick with the sweet peppers too, and not a green pepper for this dish. So I have a lot of different techniques I like to show, and people love to learn these things, and one of them is how you tackle a pepper. I do have students when I teach who cut the top off. Some people tackle it another way, but this is how I like to do it. So here we are on the board with the yellow pepper. And how I like to do this is to quarter it. So I am cutting right through the stem, and then I'm going to cut one more time. So this is being quartered, and the reason why is because now I can get to the middle. I can get to the ribs and cut those out, and I can get to the seeds, and it's just a really easy way to clean this up. Okay, so I go to a paring knife now. So these are my favorite knives to have. A chef's knife, a paring knife. Just get those two and you should be pretty good. So here I am with a paring knife, and this will help me get the ribs and the seeds out. So now I have, look at that, it's clean and ready to go, ready to do anything I want with. So let me grab the rest of them. This can go pretty fast. And you can also use a jar of roasted peppers in this, but I think the flavor with sauteing your own fresh peppers is just awesome. And so now, where the pieces of peppers are not that big, I can take my paring knife, and I like to grasp onto my vegetables so they don't move around, I don't cut myself. And I'm doing julienne cuts. So a julienne is kind of like a thin slice. It's not a ribbon, and it's really easy to saute, and it's going to be easy to eat. This is a small pepper, so I didn't have to cut them down anymore, but I will with my red pepper. Okay, so let's get these sliced, and you can do this ahead too and put this in a baggie or throw it in your refrigerator if you want to prep even the day before. Sliced peppers hold up really well, okay? And just make them, as pretty as you can. If you can't use multicolored peppers like I am and you just want to use red, that's okay too. So I'm putting my peppers onto a plate, getting them ready for when I cook. This is called mise en place, and that means everything in place, and that's a term used by the French. And it's always great to have everything done ahead, because if you don't, you're scrambling around in your kitchen, and you don't want that. You want to have fun cooking. Okay, so let me pop these aside, and I'm going to show you some of my other ingredients here. So here are the artichoke hearts, and these came out of a can, and they are not marinated. They are in water. When they're marinated, they have all kinds of flavors you might not like, and the oil is not olive oil usually. And I bought them all quartered, which really helps. If you can't find them that way, then definitely take them and quarter them yourself. They take just a minute to do. All right, and the other easy part and tasty part are these frozen peas. In Italy, they eat peas all the time in different dishes. It surprised me as an adult when I went to Italy to see that, but they're a big fan of peas. So we'll put those in our tasty fettuccine dish. And then we have some garlic. So I've pre-chopped a little bit of garlic for you, and I really like to use fresh garlic cloves rather than buy it already chopped. And let me give you just a quick little lesson on how I approach garlic. Everyone's got a different way of doing it. I like to smash it. So let me pop this over here, and let's grab my chef knife. And just keep your hand flat, and if you feel nervous about that, sort of fist your hand and you won't hurt yourself if you're worried about your fingers getting caught anywhere. Okay, and what this does is it lets me pull the skin off really easily, and I don't have to hand peel it. Okay, a very easy way of doing this, and I recommend it, and I'll do this next one. There you go, it didn't take much, and skin comes right off. So, you know, there's something in the middle called a germ, and you know, people always ask me, my students and whoever, you know, if you see your garlic growing, there's something sprouting out. That is, it's germinating. That's the word. And so these are not, and you can always pull it out of the center. And it doesn't matter. I usually keep mine in unless it's gotten really large. So I'm going to use my knife like a little hobby horse cut, you know, and I'm just going to slam the knife down on the garlic and keep pushing it in as it gets chopped, because it spreads out and you really want this nice and fine. Let me grab that little skin there, pop that aside. And you can also chop garlic way ahead. I've worked in food establishments where we just produced an awful lot of whatever it was, different foods, and you know, we chopped it way ahead. We took a ton of it and put it in food processors and just got it out of the fridge when we were ready. So there we go. We're going to add it to the garlic we already have for our fettuccine dish, and we're ready to go. I'm going to show you too the Parmesan Reggiano cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano from Parma, Italy. And so this is what you want to use, or you could use a pecorino, which is a sheep's milk cheese. This is a cow's milk, and you can see that the back of it's been burnished. That means it's the real deal. And it only really comes from one place in Italy, and it's from that region in Parma. Emilia-Romagna is the region, okay? This is going to be, this is a rasp grater or a microplane. Everybody calls them something different. And they're really great for lemon zest or for Parmesan or Romano. They just really will grate it really fast. I'll just do a little bit here. You can see it comes off. And you know, in Italy too, you take your piece of cheese and you take it out that night and you use it for the dinner. You don't want to grate your piece of Parmesan and have it for a month. It gets stale. So wrap it back up and put it in the fridge and grate it as you go. That's what the Italians do. So we have some beautiful fresh basil that you can see here. And I want to talk to you about basil too and how to store it. I've met farmers who grow it, and what they do is they tell me never to put your basil in the refrigerator because basil hates the cold. That's when it turns black and weird, okay, and it can rot. So they tell me to cut the bottom off, much like a flower bouquet, and put it in a cup of water and just keep it on your counter. You'd be surprised how long it lasts. It really will. You'll get more life out of it than you know. Okay, I've already pre-washed this, so I recommend washing basil and just drying it in a salad spinner because you just never know, what's in it. Okay, just something, from the earth or whatever. I'm going to pull out a stem and I'm going to chiffonade this, and that's another French term, even though we're cooking Italian, which means ribbon. Okay, so I'm grabbing some of my basil off of the stem. I just, use as much as I can of the leaf, but I don't really want the stem in here because the stem can be a little bit crunchy and just doesn't have good flavor. And this really can go a long way too, unless you really love it and you just want to add loads of it to your dish. And I'm going to take the basil and layer it. So layer, okay. Push this aside, I'll show you what I'm going to do. So now I'm going to take it and roll it up like a little cigar, nice and tight. Okay, this is just a nice way to tackle it. I have other ways of doing this too. I'll show you in future cooking classes. So now slice, and you're going to get these beautiful ribbons. Now you could cut these down even more, but they're really pretty in this dish. Okay, they're going to be beautiful and visual, and they're just going to taste great. This is a dish that you might eat a little bit in northern Italy. They certainly tomato sauce, but not as much there. And you'll see dishes like this, or in Rome too. The Romans do a lot of this kind of cooking, where it's not always about the tomato sauce. Okay, so there you go. And you know, this is a great way to cut basil for a caprese salad too. That's the mozzarella and the tomatoes that everybody loves. So there we are. I have pretty much everything ready to start cooking. And so follow me over to the stove, and I'm going to walk you through the fettuccine dish. Okay, so now it's time to start cooking our ingredients, our peppers, our garlic, and pull this whole dish together. So I have this great pan here. It's very heavy duty. I recommend that. It happens to be non-stick, but you do not have to worry about that for this particular dish. Any kind of good heavy-duty high-edged pan will work. I want to have enough room in here for my fettuccine and all my great vegetables that I'm ready to cook. I'm going to turn my heat up to about a medium-high to start with. I'm using extra virgin olive oil. That's the way to go. When I go to Italy on my little food tours, that's all I see them use. I want to get about 4 good tablespoons of oil. And when you eat in Italy and it tastes so great, it's usually because of what they have done with their olive oil. So I can see that my pan is getting a little hot and smoky, and that's what I want to see. Sometimes you'll see your olive oil ripple a little bit. It's time for me to put my peppers in the pan because they're hard and they need to cook before everything else goes in. A lot of my ingredients are already done. And I hear a little sizzle, which is a good sign because that is what you want. That means it's starting to cook and your oil is hot enough. I'm just turning up my burner slightly, okay? Now, I'm not going to add my garlic to the pan yet because it will burn. So I've got to get this cooked off first. So I'm going to grab a tong. You know, chefs love using tongs in their kitchen because you know, you can just do just about everything with them except, you know, saucy things, okay? And the other thing I like to do a lot at the beginning of my cooking is to add a little bit of salt, and it starts to stimulate the flavor, and it can sweat onions if you're doing onions, but a little salt in the beginning is very good. As you know, I'm a fan of kosher or sea salt because they're pure, they don't have iodine in them. And I'm just going to sprinkle just a little bit of that onto the peppers. Okay, so every once in a while, stir your ingredients, you know, whatever it is. Quite often people tend to stir all the time. And what happens is your food just keeps jumping in the air, and you don't want that. You want it to sort of, you know, do its thing in the heat and actually cook. Okay, so I'm going to let that sit for just, you know, maybe a minute or two before I flip it around again. Okay, so I've let these cook for, I don't know, a minute or two, and I'm going to give this a nice stir. And I think at this point, I can even turn the heat down to about a medium, a little bit more than a medium. I've gotten the oil nice and hot, and, you know, they're nice and glossy. That means that the olive oil really coated them. So I'm happy with that. So let them go maybe another 2 minutes, and then we'll add our garlic. Remember, garlic early sometimes burns, so make sure you add it at the right time. Okay, so here's about my 3rd time of swirling this around, and I can see my peppers have gotten soft, and I think I'm ready to go. I'm still going to cook this for a little bit with artichokes and peas, not too long, but I'm ready now for my garlic. So I'm going to scoop in, you know, about a good tablespoon. This is a teaspoon, but I cook a lot, so I kind of know that's about a tablespoon's worth. Okay, and you want to get it in there, and then you want to really spread this around so it doesn't sit in the pan and burn. Okay, now you're really going to have this awesome smell in your kitchen. There, and I can see a little bit of singeing on some of the peppers, which gives it beautiful flavor. Don't worry and don't think you're burning anything. As long as it doesn't get too far gone or too blackened, the peppers. You're got some peas that came from my freezer, and you can put them in frozen if you want. I'm going to stir those around quickly. I'm going to turn this down a little bit too. And now here goes my artichoke hearts. And that's pretty enough, and you can even do this as a side dish. If you don't want to make a pasta dish, this is dynamite to have with any kind of good Italian dinner, a roast or fish or whatever you want to do. So this doesn't take too long. As I said, I want my peas to stay kind of green because they're pretty and it just looks great if they're green. So now my pan is filled with all these beautiful cooked vegetables. It smells awesome, and I'm ready to take my fettuccine and pop it into the pan. Okay, so you saw that I pre-rinsed it ahead so it wouldn't be so sticky. So in the pan this goes, and I'm just going to use about this much of it and see how it is. Sometimes I do that. I just sort of add my fettuccine or my pasta to something else and make sure I have plenty of ingredients in the pan. So toss your peppers and all, you know, your artichoke hearts, all of your ingredients in the pan together with the fettuccine, because you want to distribute them throughout this dish. This smells awesome. It's just incredible, the smell. So I'm going to shut my burner off. Okay, and in goes your beautiful chiffonaded basil. Okay, so just be generous with it. You will love it. It will just take this and bring it to another level. Okay, so let me get that tossed around. The heat is off at this point. That's what you want. And we're ready to serve this with some great Parmesan Reggiano cheese. Okay. I would not put the cheese in here. It can get very sticky. I definitely always want to put it on the top of this dish in particular. Parmesan really does stick to the bottom, so be careful with it if you ever make a sauce with it, a Parmesan cream sauce. So how pretty is that? So I really like to have pasta in a pasta bowl, okay? And the nice thing about that is it really holds it into the center. It keeps it warmer too. So if you can get something like this for most of your pasta dishes, that's the way to go. So you can take your pasta and, you know, grab it. The great thing about the tong is you can grab it in the tong and you can pop it in the center. And you can do that fancy little swirl you see a lot of chefs do. And it just makes it kind of pretty. And you can even do it with that second portion if you want to add more. Just twist around a little bit and it just twirls your pasta around slightly. So I'm going to add maybe for color a couple of these loose peppers, and then we're going to dress it up. Okay, so here's our beautiful plate of our fettuccine dish. And I have my rasp grater, my microplane grater, and I can just give it a little hit of Parmesan. I also have some parm that I grated earlier. I have it in this beautiful olive wood Parmesan holder, cheese holder, and we're going to pop that on. And I can always add more later when I eat this if I want more. And also black pepper is just dynamite on this, so around we go. And you can just give this to your guests, and it kind of looks pretty too when it hits the edges of your pasta plate. It's wonderful. This would be great with a glass of wine. White or red would work with this. And you could also add chicken into this, cooked chicken or cooked sausages if you want to make it a one-pot meal with some kind of protein. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my class, and I hope you get to make these dishes that I'm showing, and please enjoy. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you had fun, and I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you again in my Italian kitchen.